Good evening, Eugene. How are you?
I'm great, Jana. How are you tonight?
I'm great. I'm really excited to be doing this discussion this evening because we are launching the ConnectED campaign. This campaign has been months in the making. We've had a lot of our volunteers working around the clock throughout the summer to get this campaign launched. And tonight we're going to show you the campaign, the documents, what you can do to arm yourself with knowledge to take action to protect your child against the radical sex education and the politicization and indoctrination taking place in the classroom. So let's jump right into the website, Eugene, and let's show everyone where it is. naturalwomenscouncil.com or naturalwomenscouncil.ie. And on the hero page, the front page, there's a little header that says ConnectED 2025-2026 School Campaign. You can click Learn More, and it brings you right to the campaign on the website. And this campaign was developed as a result of our followers' feedback. Parents were calling out for more information, what's happening in schools, what are some samples in the school books, what is the concerning content, where is it coming from, and what we can do about it. So I think our original scope was to develop 5 pages or less with a guide, and here we have now a 20-page booklet that we've written to support parents and grandparents and guardians to let them know what's happening. So if you can click, Eugene, on the ConnectED guide, and we'll bring that right up. And this guide is printable, so you can, as parents, print it off and bring other mummies and daddies around the kitchen table to have a discussion on it. You can do a town meeting, a town hall, a local meeting, and bring it up on the screen. So we'll just skim through some of the pages, Eugene. So we have the table of contents here, just what's in it. It talks about what's happening in the schools. We can keep on scrolling there. There's a message from myself for parents. There's also the Minister for Education, or now the ex-Minister for Education, some things that she said in the media about the gender ideology, so apparently not being in the curriculum. Then we have behind the school gates. So we wanted to spell out some of our key concerns about what's happening in the classroom. So things like no sign-off, highly sexual content, politicized with radical ideologies, and you can carry on to the next page. And then what we also wanted to do is talk about the gender identity. Despite what ex-Minister for Education Helen McEntee said, gender identity is in the classroom, and it is in the classroom at the primary school level through the B-Canaltic policy. And you can scroll down there. We talk about the subversion of parental rights there. And then we talk about the B-Canalta, which is really the conduit for getting gender ideology into the primary schools down to age 5. It won't be long before it's down into Astor preschool. This brings the transgenderism into the anti-bullying policy. And we've talked about this. We launched this campaign last April, May, and all of that is on our website as well. So you can carry on scrolling down. We talk about the new curriculum in section 1.5. What's happening in Astor, what's happening in the primary school, when was the consultation, when is it being implemented, and what are the concerns? And then you'll also see the same for both the junior cycle on the next page. And that has the concerns with the junior cycle, the consultation, and the implementation date, as well as senior cycle. We have purchased so many books through the great donations from the public. We have a lot of the school books, and we've shared some of the content inside the pages for parents to see. So we have some sample books here with the name of the book, the publisher, and also the page numbers. And you'll see hyperlinks in the document. So for example, this one, My Wellbeing Journey, Book 2, you can click on the book online to view it. And on the next page, we have My Wellbeing Journey 3 as well. So there you go, there's Journey 2. It is important to note that there was some pretty horrific content in this that parents were very concerned about. And after we flagged it with Gill Education, you cannot view from a certain that certain page forward in the book. They've hidden it online, but we do have the hard copy of the book with that outrageous content. But these are not all of the books. These are a sample. If we were to put all of the books, this guide would be 50, 60 pages long. So You'll see all of the SPHE books, but you'll also see Louder Than Words, which is an English book there. And we did a podcast on the Louder Than Words, which can be viewed on the hyperlink there, View Louder Than Words podcast. It's an English book with gender ideology, a sponsored chapter from TENI, the Trans Equality Network Ireland. So, parents can see the discussion we had on the Louder Than Words and the concern on that podcast. We unpacked it, and it's very clear what's in the book. So parents are always asking us, where is this coming from? Who is pushing it? So we have also unpacked that, and we have a couple of documents there for people to open up from UNESCO and the WHO. There's also a guide that we've created with references on the ConnectED guide to show people further about where this is coming from. There's also another document the Irish government and Department of Education are putting in the SDGs, and there's a document there people can read. We also talk about critical pedagogy, which is a term that many people are not familiar with, but this is the approach to the education here in Ireland as well as other countries across the West. And we have a book there that people can reference, the critical pedagogy book there, and of course the Paulo Freire that was referenced on the DCU course that our whistleblower teacher talked about. Most important part of this guide is section 4, what can parents do? And there's 7 points of really what parents can do to arm themselves with knowledge, bulletproof their own child from these radical ideologies and sexualization, teach your own child right from wrong, but also how to have conversations with your school, with your board of management, and with your TDs. So what parents can do is really, really an important part of this ConnectED resource. Everything that we do in the Natural Women's Council and the groups we work with is evidence-based. We do not present conspiracies, misinformation, disinformation, or anything else. We have everything backed up with evidence and facts, and we've produced it in this appendix. So that's the ConnectED guide as part of the campaign. And what we'll also do now is share with you the letter that parents and grandparents, guardians, any concerned men and women can send to the TDs, can send to the Department of Education, Children's Ombudsman, anyone you want to have this letter. So we'll share that letter. We won't go through all of the details. It's a very long letter. We sent this letter to every TD, senator, Children's Ombudsman, TUSLA, and every school in Ireland a couple of weeks ago. This letter you can find on our website under campaigns, our submissions, but it's really very similar to the letter for parents to send. Very long letter with the demands that we have, the demands that every mother and father should have against what's happening in school to protect our children. So very long letter. We may consider doing a shorter letter as well. That's very, short, one pager to the point, but there are so many concerns that we could not get it shorter than these 7 or 8 pages. So it's packed with facts. It really puts them on notice. They can't say they don't know the harms. They can't say they don't have the evidence because it's all packed in this letter. So we want thousands and thousands of parents to send this letter to their TDs, Department of Education, or anyone, and the school, and anyone they want to see the harms that is happening to our children in school. And again, the end of the letter has all of the resources referenced in the letter, all of the evidence and the reports. And the next thing we have is the leaflet. We're going to print as many as we possibly can. So we don't have funding right now to print another 250,000 leaflets, but what we have done is put this leaflet on our website. So anybody can download the leaflet, download the PDF, and send it directly to their own local print shop to print off 50 or 100 or however many they want to print to support the campaign. So on the front of the leaflet, it says, do you know what's happening in your child's school? On the back of the leaflet is the call to action and the Scan Me code that goes right to the ConnectED campaign on the website for people to read more and see the ConnectED guide and the letter to send. And on the inside of the leaflet, we can scroll down there. It just has some of the top concerns that we have of what's happening in the classroom. The top 8 concerns, everything from the radical teaching approach, the highly sexual content, gender ideology, the whole school approach, the beacon alta, all of it. So this is the leaflet we want to get out into the hands of every parent on the street. So that's really the main part of the campaign. We'll go back to the website, Eugene, and share the other documents if people want to do additional reading and get points of reference. So we have a document on pedagogy, because that is a new term that I've had to learn myself over the last 2 years. So the pedagogy document will explain further what the pedagogical approach is to education. And then there's also the United Nations and WHO document, again, showing how that has a very strong influence on the Irish education. What's happening in the classrooms is not coming as a result of the parent request, the student request, or the teacher, or even your local politician. This is coming from the top down.
Yes, a point on this pedagogy document. We will be making an update to it. There's people use the term, and it's commonly used in the curriculum, called social justice, and the meaning of that word has to be clarified. So you need to qualify it. And so what's actually being taught in the schools now is what we would call critical social justice, which is based on critical theory and postmodernism. And that's very different from Catholic social justice, or what traditionally people would have known as social justice, which would not be politically bound, right? So social justice would be, looking for equality and respect and dignity for people and all that. But the critical social justice is very different. It introduces identity politics, includes trans ideology, things like critical race theory. It's called critical for a reason, and that reason is driven by the critical theory and critical pedagogy. And unfortunately, that's what's been taught now. So people need to understand this. It's very different from the traditional social justice term. So we're going to put in a comparison table. It's only two additional pages into this document. And I think we'll do a separate podcast on it, Jana, because we need to talk it through, because it's hugely important to understand that difference. It's the way the term critical thinking is conflated with critical theory. Because very often they use the term critical thinking, but they're actually meaning the critical theory, which is Paulo Freire. It's this looking for sources of oppression, the power dynamics, etc. So it's hugely different. And
it is. We'll do a separate chat on that, Eugene, because it's a whole it's a whole big piece. But it's all, the most important thing is it's all a play on words. All the words are inverted. We hear that all of this gender ideology in school and putting it in anti-bullying, we hear that it's kind. It's about being against bullying, but actually it's the opposite. It's not kind to demand that gender critical children who believe there are two sexes, because that's a fact. It's not kind to bully them into believing there's 72 genders, or that you can be a boy, girl, neither, or both. It's not progressive for children to, be taught that a man can use their toilets, or a boy can use their school bathrooms, or compete against them in sports because that boy thinks they're a girl. That is not kind or progressive. So everything they say with all of this woke ideology is completely the opposite. It's completely inverted language. They've hijacked the wonderful words like critical thinking and kindness and being progressive. They've completely hijacked them and redefined them in their own terms. So we have to get our language back. So this document, as well as the impact of the United Nations, we won't go through all of the details. It's 3 pages long, but it really clearly shows that this is being driven by unelected bureaucrats, by these globalists who do not care about Irish children. They care about profits, not people. They don't care if children are pushed down a transgender path. In fact, it's an agenda. They want to confuse the children. A child who's confused about their gender is worth a lot more money than a healthy, strong child who uses critical thinking. Every child that gets trans, the figure I heard was they're worth about $1 to $1.5 million between all of the pharmaceutical drugs, the surgeries, and being a lifelong patient. That's not kind. And this is not about the rights of a child or thinking of the child's safety. This is about profits. This is about breaking down the family unit and confusing young, innocent children and using the classrooms to do so. So that's really the campaign there in a nutshell. Please, we encourage every mother and father to just take 15 minutes to look through the ConnectED guide, take a couple minutes to send the letter, look through the documents, and then also we have a lot of podcast content for people who want to break it down, unpack it. Where is it coming from? We have the corruption of education that we recorded. They were about an hour to an hour and a half long, but we redid them to make them shorter. So that's a series that we've released, the corruption of education. For anyone who may have other parents in their network who don't have any idea what's going on or are in disbelief about it when you try to tell them, we recorded a 10-part series called Story Time for the Irish Mommy. They're 2 to 3 minutes each to cater to the short attention spans and busy parents. And that's on a playlist, Story Time for the Irish Mommy. 2 to 3 minutes. What is your child seeing in school and libraries? There's also the Whole School Approach, a podcast we'd highly recommend, is the Louder Than Words, showing parents what's in the English books. So if you've opted your children out of SPHE or RSE or transgender ideology, well, guess what? They're going to get it in their English class or their home economics class. So those are just a few podcasts. But if you go to thenaturalwomanscouncil.com, go to our YouTube channel, we have all the different videos that we've done over the last couple of years. There's some great whistleblowers. You'll hear from the DCU whistleblower, Mary Creedon. That interview's on there. We had a young man, Sean, who went to belong to youth service, did a whistleblower. We have a teacher, Stephen, who did a whistleblower interview on how the Teachers Union of Ireland has been hijacked by the hard left. We have another whistleblower coming forward this week, which is a mother who's outraged about a survey her child took. And then we have another whistleblower that came to us yesterday at an event in Dublin, a secondary school teacher as a whistleblower. So more and more people are finding the courage to use their voice to speak up because of the harm that's happening to children in the classroom. And we will stop this. It's all going to crumble. And those who speak out, you're going to make a difference in protecting children. And those who stay silent and complicit are part of the problem. So we urge everyone to start speaking up without fear of being labeled, without fear of being othered, because there's nothing more important than protecting our children, protecting their education, protecting their innocence, their health and well-being. So Eugene, is there anything else you want to add on the campaign? I know we wanted to keep it to 20 minutes or less. We're just about there.
Yeah. No, I think, as I said, the resources, I would recommend people download the extra resources, and that clarification in terms of the difference between critical social justice and what would have been social justice in a generic term, but obviously in a Catholic context, because people in Catholic schools would use the term social justice quite a lot. And just to understand, it means something very different. We will do a brief podcast to walk through the differences, but we'll also include it in one of the resources here that we'll have to update the website with that, Jana. So it will be in the resources, but we'll do a short podcast as well to explain the differences, because they're huge. And right now, people in Catholic schools, I think, are getting caught out. I think there are people who would be advocates for social justice historically, and they're taking the meaning of the word from the historical understanding that they have of the word, of the term. And unfortunately, that's not what's actually in the curriculum. It's something very different.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to add, there's another couple of documents that will be added to our ConnectED campaign. They're nearly done. One will be some talking points to help parents have those conversations with their school. And then we also have a unpacking of the junior cycle toolkit with some pretty horrific content in that. So those two documents will be added. But the ConnectED part of our website right now, it's out there. There's the guide, the letter, and the leaflet. But there'll be lots more things added to really support parents, because there's a lot of parents who know what's going on but need to know a little bit more. There's also parents who are just coming on board now. Parents are busy. We get that. The books are purchased by the state and locked up at schools. So, we want to make it as easy as possible for parents to get the information, be empowered with the knowledge, to have the conversations, to take action. The only way to stop this and protect children is if we have parents en masse rising up and saying, no, our children belong to us as parents. They don't belong to the state. They belong to us. And we're going to stop this state-sponsored child abuse happening in school right now. So hope everyone got a lot out of this, and stay tuned for our next few podcasts, which will build upon this and resist this indoctrination. So have a great night.